In the previous session, we were discussing about food storage and preservation technique. Here is the list of different food preservation methods: container storage, refrigeration and cold storage, freezing, heating, canning, drying or dehydration, salting and pickling, jams, and using chemical preservatives. So let us discuss one by one. Let us start with container storage. The container storage method is used for non-perishable foods like cereals, pulses, spices, sugars are generally stored in clean dry containers. The food is once purchased from grocery store is going to be kept in a airtight containers. The containers such as glass, earthenware, porcelain, tin, plastic and wooden containers are used, which contains tight fitting lid to keep away moisture and dirt and also insects and worms, rodents. The ancient times, several decades back, glass and earthenware and porcelain were used. Porcelain is best method for pickle storage, and nowadays in modern times, food grade plastics are used for preservation of food substances. Here you can see the illustration or depiction. Here the containers contain airtight lids, and in them the food is stored, which is going to avoid the moisture and also protect them protect them from insects and rodents. By this method, you can keep the food preserved for longer time. Next is refrigeration and cold storage. Microorganisms are less active at low temperature. At a very low temperature, microorganisms cannot grow, and this is employed in refrigeration or cold storage technique. Refrigerators and cold storages are used at home in small scale and in big scale or large scale in commercial places for storage of perishable foods like fruits, milk, vegetable, and even cooked foods. So very big cold storage godowns are also there, warehouses where you can keep agricultural produced tons of vegetables or fruits in a cold storage. Apples, potatoes are kept in cold storage warehouses where you can keep in several number of lorries. Yeah, and milk is usually stored. Whenever you purchase milk, you may have seen you are getting the milk from the either refrigerator or cold storage. And food, even cooked, are kept in a refrigerator in the houses so that they are kept protected and then preserved and to avoid spoilage. Foods are kept just above the freezing point. Here you can see the illustration. Here the series of refrigerators are there where they contain food, and these are seen in food malls or big bazaars, and they are going to store in these refrigerators to avoid spoilage. Next is freezing. Freezing is a method where you are employing temperature less than 0 degree or sub-0 degree Celsius in commercial plants and deep freezer compartments in is used to preserve the food. In the large scale, you can see the containers like this where you can store large quantity of food items and then freeze them, whereas in small quantity in your house's refrigerator is having a one of the area called as freezer area. They contains very low temperature. Meat, fishes, fruits and vegetables are generally preserved by this freezing technique. So freezing is going to check the growth of microorganisms. So this is about freezing technique. Next is heating. Heating is a universal, simple, and famous method, and most of the food items are preserved by this technique. The food is heated to about 60 to 75 degrees Celsius for a period of time. It destroys most of the microorganisms. High temperature is going to destroy the microorganisms. Thereby, the food is protected or preserved. Inactivate of certain enzymes occurs during the high temperature. It results in pasteurized or sterilized food product. Here you can see The bowl with the milk is boiled or heated, thereby it kills the microorganisms, which can cause disease also, which can cause spoilage of food also. They are going to be destroyed by heating technique. In houses, the sambar is usually boiled and kept so that it should be kept for longer duration, and the heating ensures the food preservation for a certain duration. Hence, this is a best method for food preservation technique. Next is canning. It is a procedure of keeping the sterilized food in a can and then sealing it. In this method, food is heated and sterilized at high temperature, cooled and then placed in a pre-sterilized can in a sterile environment. Here you should observe that here we are using high temperature, that is going to kill the microorganisms, and then cooled, and then this heat and cooled sterilized food is going to be stored in a pre-sterilized can. Can should also be in a sterilized condition, and after storing we are going to seal it. The canned foods are as wholesome, and they are preserved of fresh foods. Here you can see canned foods. These canned foods can be seen in big malls, so different size and different quantity containers are of different shapes are obtained, so where you can get canned foods. Next is dehydration or drying. Dehydration or drying is the process of removal of water from the food. It is an ancient method of food preservation. The drying is a process of removal of water from the food, and since lack of water, microorganisms cannot grow, thereby we can avoid the growth of microorganisms. Food generally preserved by drying are fruits, fishes and meat, and also cereals, pulses are also can be stored by dehydration. You may have seen red chilies. Red chilies are usually obtained by drying or dehydration process. Small fishes can also be preserved by dehydration process. Here you can see the depiction. Black black grapes or blueberries are dehydrated and then they can be kept for longer time. Like this, several food items can be preserved by dehydration technique. Next is salting or pickling. Salting or pickling is a famous method. A salt is a good preservative. It acts as a dehydrating agent, and also it alters the pH, and also antiseptic properties there. Since it removes the water, the microorganisms cannot grow, and since it is acidic pH, so the microorganisms cannot multiply. Salt along with condiments and spices are used as preservatives in pickling of certain food like mangoes, lemon and other vegetables, and even fish. In large quantity, the salt is used for preservation of fish, and also different items are stored by salting process. Here you can see depiction. Here lemon is added with a large quantity of salt, thereby the lemon can be kept for longer time without any spoilage. So this is salting and pickling method. Next is we are going to study vinegar. Usage of vinegar. Vinegar is a dilute acetic acid. It is used as a preservative. It acts as dehydrating agent and also changes the pH. The dehydration and the change in pH avoids the growth of microorganisms. Vegetables like onion, radish, lemon are preserved by vinegar, and vinegar can be obtained from grocery store. You can use it for even pickling process also. Sugars and jams. Sugar is used as preservative in jam preparation. The good quality sugars fruits are selected, and then they are grinded to remove the pulp, and then it is mixed with large quantity of sugar and then converted into form of jam. along with adding of chemical preservatives. In this depiction, you can see the left side the bottle containing food item with the vinegar, and the right side you can see the jam.